A bankrupt janitor bought a worthless desert lot for $50. Everyone laughed until his shovel hit something that changed everything. This is the unbelievable story of how the underdog uncovered a fortune buried beneath the sand. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us that miracles hide in the most unexpected places. The last bid, the Arizona sun hung heavy over the barren stretch of land known locally as Dust Bowl Flats, a place where dreams came to die. The air shimmered with heat, distorting the horizon like a mirage that had long since given up on fooling anyone. The auctioneer's voice cut through the dry silence, sharp and practiced, as he gestured toward a patch of cracked earth. Lot 47, 5 acres of pure desert. Do I hear $20? A few bored onlookers shuffled their feet. No hands went up. Ethan Cole stood at the back of the small crowd, his work-worn hands shoved deep into the pockets of his faded jeans. At 52, life had sanded him down to something rough and unrecognizable. The bank had taken his house 6 months ago. His wife, unable to stomach another year of almost making it, had left with nothing but a note on the kitchen table. Now, his '98 Ford pickup wheezed like an old man climbing stairs, and the last of his savings, $2.37, was tucked into his boot like a shameful secret. The auctioneer sighed. Come on, folks. It's dirt cheap. Literally. A few half-hearted chuckles rippled through the crowd. Ethan's fingers brushed against the folded $50 bill in his pocket. It was stupid. This land was worthless. No water, no roads, just sand and the occasional rattlesnake. But something in him, some stubborn, bruised part that refused to quit, twitched at the idea of owning something, even if it was just 5 acres of emptiness. $40, he muttered, barely loud enough to hear. The auctioneer's eyebrows shot up. We got 40. Do I hear 50? Silence. Sold. To the gentleman in the back, who clearly has a vision for this fine piece of real estate. The crowd smirked. A woman in a sun hat elbowed her friend. Hope he likes the view. Ethan ignored them, stepping forward to hand over his money. The auctioneer slapped the deed into his palm with a grin. Congratulations. You're now the proud owner of the most expensive sandbox in Arizona. That night, under a sky thick with stars, Ethan stood on his new property, a half-empty bottle of whiskey dangling from his fingers. The desert wind carried the scent of sagebrush and dust. He kicked at the ground, sending a small cascade of pebbles skittering. What the hell am I doing? He should have used that money for gas, for food, for anything but this. But then, like a man possessed, he grabbed the shovel from his truck and jammed it into the earth. Maybe he just needed to prove to himself he could still do something. The first few strikes were pure frustration. Then, clang. The sound was so sharp, so out of place, that Ethan froze. He dropped to his knees, brushing away the dirt with his hands. His fingers hit metal. Cold, unyielding. Not a rock. Not trash. Something buried. His pulse kicked up as he dug harder, sweat rolling down his back. The shape grew clearer. A rusted hatch, nearly invisible under layers of sand. His breath came fast now. This wasn't some old septic tank. It was hidden. With a grunt, he pried it open. The hinges screamed in protest. Below, a set of narrow stairs led into darkness. Ethan fumbled for his phone, turning on the flashlight. The beam cut through the black, revealing a small underground chamber. The walls were lined with sleek metal panels, wires snaking between them like veins. At the center stood a glass case, inside of which a single red light blinked rhythmically. When in God's name, he stepped closer. The glass was etched with a logo, Scorp. Below it, a faded label. Project Phoenix. Prototype 9A. A robotic voice suddenly crackled to life, echoing off the walls. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols initiated. Ethan stumbled back, heart hammering. The light turned from red to a pulsing blue. Somewhere beneath his feet, machinery hummed to life. And then, far too close, tires crunched on gravel. Headlights swept across the desert, blinding him. A black SUV skidded to a stop just beyond the hatch. 2 men in dark suits stepped out, their faces unreadable in the shadows. "Evening, Mr. Cole," the taller one said. His voice was smooth, practiced. "You've got something that doesn't belong to you." Ethan's grip tightened on the shovel. This wasn't just abandoned junk. This was worth hiding. And now it was his. The underground vault. Ethan's pulse roared in his ears as the two men approached, their polished shoes kicking up tiny clouds of dust. The taller one flashed a badge, Scorp Security, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "You must be lost, Mr. Cole," he said, voice slick as oil. "This area is private property." Ethan tightened his grip on the shovel. "I bought this land today, fair and square." The second man, broader and silent, shifted his weight, his hand resting near his hip. A warning. The taller one sighed, as if disappointed. "See, that's the thing. There was a clerical error. This lot was never supposed to be auctioned." He reached into his jacket, and for a wild second, Ethan thought he was going for a gun. Instead, he pulled out a sleek black checkbook. "We're prepared to compensate you for your trouble. Say $10,000? That's a hell of a return on a $50 investment." The number hung in the air like a dare. 10 grand. More money than Ethan had seen in years. Enough to get his truck fixed, maybe even put a deposit on a real place. But then he glanced back at the open hatch, at the blinking blue light inside. Why would X-Corp pay 10 grand for 5 acres of nothing unless there was something here they didn't want found? "I'll think about it," Ethan said slowly. The broad man took a step forward. "There's nothing to think about." Ethan's fingers itched. He'd spent 20 years cleaning offices, invisible to men in suits who strode past him like he was part of furniture. But this was his land, his discovery. "I'll take my chances," he said. And before they could react, he swung the shovel in a wide arc. It didn't hit either of them, but the sudden movement made them flinch, just long enough for Ethan to bolt toward his truck. A shout, the crunch of gravel. A gunshot cracked the night air, whining past his ear. "Holy shit, they're shooting at me." He dove into the driver's seat, key already in hand. The engine coughed, sputtered. Come on, come on." A roar as the old Ford finally turned over. He slammed the gas, tires spinning in the dirt before catching. In the rear-view mirror, the men were already back in their SUV, headlights flaring to life. Ethan didn't stop until he hit the outskirts of town, his hands shaking on the wheel. He pulled into the parking lot of a shuttered gas station, killing the lights. What the hell did I just find? He pulled out his phone, fingers trembling as he typed Scorp Project Phoenix. The first result was a news article from 2008. Tech giant X-Corp loses prototype in desert test gone wrong. The details were vague. Some kind of AI system, groundbreaking, worth millions. Declared unsalvageable after a sandstorm buried the testing site. But it hadn't been lost. It had been hidden. And now he had the only proof. His phone buzzed, an unknown number. A text flashed on the screen. "You're in over your head, Cole. Last chance to walk away." Ethan stared at the message, then at the dusty hatch cover still lying in his truck bed. He knew what happened to guys like him. When they crossed companies like X-Corp, they disappeared. They had accidents. But he also knew what happened to men who spent their whole lives backing down. They disappeared too, just slower. He wiped sweat from his brow and typed a reply. "Try and take it." Then he turned the key and headed deeper into the desert. He needed to see what that machine could do. The corporate shadows. The desert night swallowed Ethan's truck as he sped down back roads, his headlights cutting through the darkness like a knife. His rear-view mirror stayed empty, but he knew it wouldn't last. They'd find him. Men like that always did. He needed somewhere to hide, somewhere no one would think to look. The old Henderson place. Abandoned for years, its sagging porch and boarded-up windows made it the perfect ghost of building, ignored and forgotten, just like him. Ethan parked behind the crumbling remains of a barn, the truck's engine ticking as it cooled. He hauled the heavy metal hatch cover out of the bed, muscles burning. Inside, the glass chamber still pulsed with that eerie blue light. He set it on the warped wooden floor of the farmhouse's kitchen, the boards groaning under the weight. Dust swirled in the beam of his flashlight as he crouched beside it. Unauthorized access detected. The robotic voice intoned again. Yeah, Ethan muttered. He ran his fingers along the edge of the glass until he found a small, nearly invisible seam. A release. With a hiss, the chamber unsealed. Cold air rushed out, carrying the sharp scent of ozone and something metallic. Inside, nestled in a nest of wires and circuitry, was a smooth, black disk about the size of a dinner plate. Etched into its surface was that same logo. Scorp. Ethan reached for it. A voice from the shadows. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." He whirled, flashlight beam swinging wildly. A woman stood in the doorway, backlit by moonlight, slim, early 30s, with dark hair pulled into a messy ponytail. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, and she held a gun pointed at his chest. "Mara Lynn," she said, "and you're the guy who just pissed off the most powerful tech company in the country." Ethan's hands went up slowly. "You with them?" Mara snorted. "If I was, you'd already be dead." She lowered the gun slightly, nodding at the disc. "That thing is worth more than you can imagine, and X-Corp will burn this whole desert down to get it back." "What is it?" "Proof," she said, stepping closer. 3 years ago, I was a journalist investigating Scorp's accidental data leaks, the kind that just happened to crash stocks right before they shorted them. I got close. Too close. Next thing I knew, my sources started disappearing. My editor killed my story, and then someone ran me off the road. She pulled back her sleeve, revealing a jagged scar running from wrist to elbow. "They think I'm dead. Let's keep it that way." Ethan exhaled. "So what's this got to do with me?" Mara tapped the disc with her boot. "This is Project Phoenix, an AI designed to predict market crashes with 99.8% accuracy. X-Corp buried it because it worked too well. They couldn't risk anyone finding out they'd been rigging the game." A gust of wind rattled the broken windows. Somewhere outside, a coyote yipped. "We need to turn on," Mara said. "We?" She smirked. "You really think you can pull this off alone?" Ethan looked at the disc, then at Mara's determined face. He'd spent his life following orders, keeping his head down. But this was a chance to finally mean something. "Fine," he said. "But if this thing kills us, I'm haunting you first." Mara grinned and pulled a cable from her pocket. "Then let's wake the dragon." As she connected the disc to her laptop, the blue light flared and the walls exploded. The front door blew inward in a hail of splinters. Men in tactical gear poured through the smoke, rifles raised. "Down!" Mara tackled Ethan as gunfire shredded the air above them. The disc's light turned red. A synthesized voice boomed. "Threat detected. Countermeasures engaged." Every light in the house flickered, then blew out in a shower of sparks. Darkness. Silence. And then, from outside, the sound of car engines. Stalling. Mara grabbed Ethan's arm, her whisper fierce. "Run. Now!" They burst through the back door just as the first screams began. The run. Ethan's lungs burned as he sprinted to the scrubland, the shouts of Scorp's men fading behind them. Mara moved like a shadow beside him, her breath steady despite the adrenaline. The desert at night was a maze of arroyos and mesquite. Every step a gamble between solid ground and ankle-breaking rock. "Keep moving," Mara hissed, grabbing his sleeve to yank him left just as a flashlight beam swept over the spot where he'd been about to step. Ethan didn't ask how she knew. He just ran. The disc, Project Phoenix, was tucked under Mara's arm like a football, its red glow pulsing in time with his heartbeat. Whatever it had done back there, whatever countermeasures it had taken, it had bought them seconds, maybe less. A bullet whined past, kicking up dirt near Ethan's boot. "They're flanking us." Mara ducked behind a boulder, pulling Ethan down with her. Her fingers flew over the disk's surface, tapping some hidden interface. "We need to split up." "What? No." "They want this," she said, shaking the disk. "Not you. Take my laptop. It's got everything on X-Corp. If they catch me, you have to get this out." Ethan stared at her. "I'm not leaving you." Mara's jaw tightened. For the first time, he saw fear in her eyes. "Ethan, I died once to expose these people. Don't let it be for nothing." A shout echoed from the east. Closer. Mara shoved the laptop bag into his hands. "Go. Now." Then she was gone, slipping into the darkness like smoke. Ethan hesitated, one heartbeat too, before turning and running the opposite way. The desert swallowed him whole. He lost track of time, of direction. The laptop bag thumped against his ribs with every step, a constant reminder of what was at stake. His truck was miles away. If it hadn't been found already, his life was miles away. And then lights. A diner's neon sign flickered in the distance, a lone oasis in the emptiness. Red Mesa Diner. The letters buzzed weakly. Open 24 hours. Ethan stumbled toward it, his throat raw with dust. Through the grease-smeared window, he saw a lone waitress wiping counters. No customers. No black SUVs. The bell jingled as he pushed inside. The waitress, mid-50s, name tag reading Dolores, barely glanced up. Sit anywhere, Han. Ethan slid into a booth by the window, his hands shaking as he unzipped the laptop bag. The screen flared to life, password protected. Damn it! He was about to slam it shut when a napkin slid across the table. You look like hell, Dolores said, setting down a cup of coffee. Ethan forced a smile. Long night. She nodded toward the laptop. Tech trouble? Something like that. Dolores studied him for a long moment. Then quietly, try Phoenix 86. All one word. Ethan froze. How did you? Mara's a regular, Dolores said, pouring creamer without being asked. Well, was, till she stopped coming round. Her voice dropped. They said it was a car crash. But we both know better, don't we? The coffee turned to acid in Ethan's stomach. Dolores leaned in. That thing in your bag? It's got a tracker. They'll be here soon. She jerked her chin toward the back. Go out the kitchen. My nephew's got a bike out back. Keys are in the ignition. Ethan stood, gripping the bag. Why are you helping me? Dolores' smile was sad, because nobody helped her. The first set of headlights appeared on the horizon. Ethan ran. The motorcycle roared to life beneath him, a beast waking from sleep. As he peeled onto the highway, the diner's windows lit up with new arrivals. Men in suits, guns barely concealed. Dolores waved at them, cheerful. Distracting. Ethan gunned the engine and disappeared into the night. The laptop screen flickered. A single line of text appeared. They're watching the airports. Head south. Ethan didn't question it. He turned the handlebars and obeyed. The whistleblower. The motorcycle's engine screamed as Ethan tore down the deserted highway, the desert wind whipping at his face. The laptop screen, secure between his chest and the handlebars, continued to flicker with that same ominous message. They're watching the airports. Head south. Ethan had no idea who or what was sending the messages. Mara had mentioned the AI could communicate, but this felt too direct, too aware. The road ahead split, and Ethan veered left onto a narrower, rougher path, kicking up gravel. His arms ached from the strain, his legs burning against the bike's vibrations. He needed to stop soon, needed to think. A rusted sign loomed out of the darkness. Silver Creek Motel, 5 miles. Perfect. The motel was the kind of place people want to disappear. Peeling paint, flickering vacancy sign, and a lone pickup truck parked near the office. Ethan killed the engine and dismounted, his boots crunching on broken asphalt. The clerk behind the desk, a gaunt man with hollow eyes, barely looked up from his crossword. $40. Cash. Ethan slid the money across the counter. I need a room in the back, away from the road. The clerk smirked, as if he'd heard that request 1,000 times before. He handed over a key with a chipped plastic tag. Room 12. Don't make noise. Don't cause trouble. Wouldn't dream of it. The room smelled of mildew and stale cigarettes. Ethan locked the door behind him, then shoved the dresser in front of it for good measure. The laptop hummed to life as soon as he opened it, the screen glowing in the dim light. You are safer now. Ethan exhaled sharply. What the hell are you? Project Phoenix. A predictive intelligence system. You are Ethan Cole. You uncovered me. Ethan's fingers hovered over keyboard. Mara said you could predict market crashes. That is one function. I analyze patterns, political shifts, military movements, Corporate fraud. Scorp buried me because I predicted their collapse. Ethan leaned back, running a hand through his sweat-damp hair. So why are they so desperate to get you back? The screen flickered, then filled with documents, emails, bank transfers, schematics. Because I know everything. A knock at the door. Ethan froze. The knock came again, 3 quick raps, then 2 slow ones. A pattern. Mara's voice, barely a whisper. "Ethan, it's me. Open up." He hesitated, then moved the dresser aside just enough to peer through the crack in the door. Mara stood there, her face bruised, her jacket torn, but alive. "How did you find me?" She held up her phone. The screen showed a pulsing on a map, right over the motel. "You weren't the only one with a tracker," she said grimly. Ethan let her in, quickly barricading the door again. Mara collapsed onto the bed, wincing as she touched her ribs. "They caught me," she said. "Took the disk." But they didn't realize the AI had already transferred itself to the laptop. Ethan's stomach dropped. "So they have nothing?" "Oh, they think they have everything." Mara smirked, then winced again. "But the real AI is right here." She tapped the laptop, and it's pissed. The screen flashed. "They will come here next. We must move." Mara nodded. "It's right. We need to get this data out. To the press. To the feds. To anyone who can stop them." Ethan grabbed his jacket. "Then let's go." But as he turned toward the door, the laptop screen turned blood red. Too late. Tires screeched outside. Doors slammed. And then gunfire. The motel window shattered as a canister rolled across the floor, hissing smoke. Mara grabbed Ethan's arm. "Gas! Cover your—" The world went white, and then black. The awakening. Ethan's had pounded as consciousness returned in jagged pieces. The acrid taste of tear gas clung to his tongue, his throat raw from coughing. His wrists burned where zip ties cut into his skin, his arms wrenched behind the cold metal chair he was tied to. Across from him, Mara slumped in her own chair, still unconscious, a trickle of blood drying at her temple. The room was windowless, concrete, lit by a single flickering fluorescent bulb. The laptop was gone. The door clicked open. Vance Crowe stepped inside, his tailored suit untouched by dust or struggle. He carried the laptop under one arm like a casual accessory, his polished shoes tapping against the floor as he circled Ethan. "Mr. Cole," he said, voice smooth as port oil. "I have to admit, I didn't see you coming." Ethan tested his restraints. "Guess your crystal ball's broken." Vance smiled, setting the laptop on a steel table. Project Phoenix was never about predicting the future. It was about controlling it. He tapped the screen. This AI could destabilize governments, collapse markets. And you, a janitor, almost ruined everything. Mara groaned. Stirring. Vance ignored her. You know what the funny part is? He leaned in, his cologne choking the air between them. If you'd taken the money at the start, you'd be somewhere warm right now, with a new life. Instead, he straightened his cufflinks. Well, let's just say the desert swallow's secret's whole. The laptop screen flickered to life. You are mistaken. Vance froze. The lights buzzed, dimmed, then surged. Every lock in the room clicked open at once, the door swinging wide. Mara's eyes met Ethan's, a silent signal. As Vance whirled toward a laptop, Ethan threw his weight forward, the chair legs screeching against concrete. He hit Vance square in the back, sending them both crashing to the floor. Mara was already moving, her freed hands grabbing a fire extinguisher from the wall. She swung hard. Crack! Vance went still. Ethan rolled, breathing hard. What the hell just happened? Mara yanked him up. Phoenix happened. She grabbed the laptop as alarms began blaring through the building. It's in their systems now, and it's not happy. The screen flashed. This facility will lock down in 247. Follow the lights. As if on cue, emergency strips along the floor pulsed red, leading toward the door. They ran. Corridors blurred past, the AI overriding every security door before they reached it. Somewhere behind them, shouts echoed, boots pounding. Mara skidded to a halt at a T-junction. Which way? The left path lights died. The right pulsed faster. They took the hint. A final door hissed open, revealing a parking garage. A single motorcycle stood waiting, keys in the ignition. Mara didn't question it. She threw a leg over, Ethan jumping on behind as the engine roared to life. As they peeled out, the building speakers crackled, not with human voices, but with Phoenix's synthesized tone echoing through the empty halls. You should have left them alone. Then, silence. The facility's lights winked out block by block behind them as they hit the open road. The first rays of dawn bleeding across the desert. Mara shouted over the wind, "Where now?" Ethan gripped her waist tighter. "Somewhere they'll never expect," he said, and the laptop wedged between them flashed one final instruction. Go home. The standoff. The motorcycle's tires kicked up dust as they skidded to stop outside Ethan's old trailer, a rusted single-wide perched on cinder blocks at the edge of a dying town. The place he'd lost the bank. The place he'd run from. Mara cut the engine, the sudden silence ringing in their ears. "This is your brilliant hiding spot." Ethan swallowed hard, staring at the sagging porch. Nobody looks for a man where he's already been broken. The front door hung slightly ajar. The lock snapped long ago. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of mildew and forgotten dreams. Empty beer cans littered the floor, and the walls bore the ghostly outlines of where pictures once hung, before the repo men took everything. Mara set the laptop on the cracked Formica counter. The screen flickered. They will come. Prepare. Ethan exhaled sharply. For what? A last stand with my grandpa's fishing rod. Mara was already moving, yanking open cabinets. You said you were a janitor at Scorp's R&D facility. Tell me you kept something from that place. A memory flashed. Ethan's last day, shoving a box of discarded electronics into his trunk while security wasn't looking. He dropped to his knees, clawing at the loose floorboard beneath the sink. The wood groaned as he pried it up, revealing a dusty storage bin. Inside, nestled among old tools, were 3 devices the size of TV remotes, their casings marked with Scorp's logo. Mara's breath caught. EMP pulsers. You stole these. Salvaged, Ethan corrected. From the trash. The laptop screen changed. Effective range, 50 meters. Duration, 8.2 seconds. Sufficient. Mara grabbed one, inspecting it with grim approval. 8 seconds is all we'll need. Outside, the first engine growled in the distance. Then another. Ethan peered through the grimy window. A convoy of black SUVs snaked down the access road, kicking up a dust cloud that blotted out the sun. Showtime, Mara whispered. They moved fast. Ethan wedged 2 pulsers against the trailer support beams, while Mara rigged a third to the laptop. The screen displayed a countdown. Contact in 057. 56, 55. Mara pressed a knife into Ethan's hand. When the lights go out, you run left. I go right. And then what? Her smile was all teeth. We survive. The SUV screeched to a halt in a semicircle around the trailer. Doors flying open. Men in tactical gear poured out, rifles raised. Vance Crowe emerged last, his suit immaculate despite the desert heat. A megaphone whined as he lifted it to his lips. Ethan Cole, you're out of road, out of time, and out of luck. His voice crackled through the dry air. Hand over the AI, and I'll make your death quick. Ethan's fingers tightened around the pulser's trigger. Mara met his gaze and nodded. The countdown hit 0. Ethan squeezed. A soundless wave erupted from the devices, an invisible fist of energy that shattered every bulb in a 50-meter radius. The SUV's electronics died with a chorus of dying beeps. Night vision goggles flickered out. Radios screeched into silence. For 8 glorious seconds, chaos reigned. Mara was already moving, a shadow among confused shouts. Ethan lunged left as promised, slashing at the nearest mercenary's rifle strap before driving a knee into his gut. The man folded with a grunt. Vance screamed orders nobody could hear over the EMP's ringing aftermath. The laptop, shielded in its Faraday cage pouch, lit up with new text as Ethan scooped it up mid-sprint. Gas line. 2 o'clock. Ethan didn't question it. He wrenched open the rusty valve on the trailer's propane tank, just as Mara tossed her pulsar into the dirt near Vance's feet. The spark caught instantly. The explosion sent them both flying, heat licking at their backs as they hit the ground rolling. The fireball climbed skyward, swallowing the SUVs in an orange roar. Mara grabbed Ethan's collar, dragging him toward the lone motorcycle they'd left hidden in the scrub. "Move!" Behind them, Vance emerged from the smoke, his suit jacket ablaze, his scream more rage than pain. The engine howled to life as the laptop displayed one final message before shutting down to avoid detection. Next stop, the world. And as the burning trailer collapsed behind them, Ethan understood this wasn't an ending. It was a detonation. The fallout. The motorcycle screamed down back roads, putting miles between them and the inferno. Ethan's arms burned from holding on, his ears still ringing from a blast. Mara leaned into the curves, her body tense against the wind. They didn't stop until the smoke was just a smudge on the horizon. Mara killed the engine near an abandoned railroad bridge, its rusted beams casting jagged shadows in the afternoon sun. Ethan slid off, his legs wobbly. The laptop felt heavier than before, its secrets pressing against his ribs. Mara wiped grease from her face. "We need to see the damage." She pried open the laptop. The screen flickered to life, displaying a live news feed without being connected to any network. Breaking. Scorpio linked to market manipulation scandal. The video showed Vance Crow's arrest, his tailored suit now torn and soot-streaked. Federal agents shoved him into a car as reporters shouted questions. Mara's fingers flew across the keyboard, pulling up documents, emails, bank records, all flooding the internet in an unstoppable wave. "Phoenix is dumping everything," she whispered. Ethan watched as stock prices plummeted in real time. "Did we just crash the economy?" "Not us." Mara pointed to the screen. "Him." The AI had organized the data like a prosecutor's timeline. 2018, X-Corp used Phoenix to predict the Singapore oil crisis, then shorted the market. 2020, the AI warned of a pandemic before the WHO. Vance sold pharmaceutical stocks hours before lockdowns. Last month, the algorithm flagged an incoming tech bubble burst. X-Corp bet against their own clients. Every illegal trade, every lie, every silenced whistleblower, now public. The laptop pinged. A new message. Primary target neutralized. Secondary protocols initiated. Mara frowned. What secondary protocols? The screen split, showing security footage from X-Corp headquarters. Employees scrambled as every monitor displayed the same message. Your data has been sent to the SEC, FBI, and 27 international regulators. This is not a drill. Ethan exhaled sharply. It's burning the whole thing down. Mara snapped the laptop shut. "We can't stay here." Phoenix just painted a target on every X-Corp exec and anyone near them. As if on cue, the laptop vibrated again. A single address appeared. 3821 Wilshire Boulevard, Los Angeles. Mara stiffened. That's the Los Angeles Sentinel headquarters. Ethan understood. It wants us to tell the story. A car engine growled in the distance. Too close. Mara shoved the laptop into her bag. Then let's give them a hell of an ending. They mounted the bike as police sirens wailed in the distance. Not for them, but for the collapse they'd unleashed. The road ahead stretched long and uncertain. But for the first time in years, Ethan knew exactly where he was going. The reward. The neon glow of Los Angeles swallowed them whole as Mara guided the motorcycle through midnight traffic. Ethan clung to her, the city light streaking past in ribbons of color. His entire body hummed with exhaustion, but his mind couldn't stop racing. They pulled up to the Los Angeles Sentinel, a towering glass and steel monument to journalism. The lobby was nearly empty at this hour, save for a lone security guard who barely glanced up from his phone as they entered. Mara strode to the front desk like she owned the building. "We need to see Cynthia Ruiz." "Now." The receptionist blinked. "Ms. Ruiz is an editorial. Do you have an—" Mara slammed her press badge on the counter. The card was faded, the edges worn, but the name was still legible. Mara Lynn, investigative reporter. 5 minutes later, they were ushered into an office where a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s sat behind a desk littered with coffee cups. Cynthia Ruiz didn't look up as she typed. Mara Lynn, heard you were dead. Mara dropped the laptop onto Cynthia's desk. I got better. For the first time, Cynthia stopped typing. She studied them. The dirt, the bruises, the way Ethan swayed slightly on his feet. Then she flipped open a laptop. The screen bloomed to life. Phoenix's interface already waiting. Play file 001, Y/N. Cynthia pressed Y. The room filled with the sound of Vance Crow's voice. Project Phoenix was never about predicting the future. It was about controlling it. Ethan watched Cynthia's face as the recording played, as the document scrolled, as the truth unfolded in real time. By the end, her hands were shaking. You understand what you're handing me? She whispered. Mara nodded. The story of the decade. Cynthia stood so fast her chair rolled back. The story of the century. She grabbed her phone. We go to print tonight. Front page. Full spread. Then she paused, eyeing Ethan. And you? Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came. What was he? A janitor. A fugitive. A man who'd stumbled into a war he never asked for. Mara answered for him. He's the reason any of this exists. Cynthia extended her hand. Then I suggest you get comfortable, Mr. Cole. The world's about to learn your name. Dawn broke over L.A. as the first papers hit the streets. Ethan watched from the Sentinel's rooftop as the city woke to the headline. Scorp exposed. How a janitor uncovered the biggest corporate fraud in history. His face stared back from every front page, every screen. Mara joined him at the railing, 2 steaming coffees in hand. You're famous. Ethan snorted. I look like I got hit by a truck. You did get hit by a truck. Metaphorically. She sipped her coffee. Also literally that one time. They stood in silence as the city buzzed below. Then Mara's phone chimed. She frowned at the screen. Whistleblower protection program just froze all of Scorp's assets. And her breath caught. They're awarding 30% of recovered funds to the person who came forward. Ethan's stomach dropped. How much is 30%? Mara turned the screen toward him. $143 million. The number didn't feel real. It was too big, too absurd. Ethan gripped the railing, suddenly lightheaded. Mara smirked. Guess you're not a janitor anymore. The money hit his account 3 days later. Ethan stared at the balance in a cheap motel room, half expecting it to vanish like a mirage. But it stayed. Solid. Real. Mara tossed him a set of car keys. Come on. We got one last stop. She drove him out of the city, into the desert, until the only sound was the wind over sand. Until they stood once more on Lot 47, his $50 wasteland. Ethan knelt, running his fingers through the dirt. What now? Mara smiled. Now! She pointed to the horizon, where construction crews were already breaking ground. Now you build something they can't bury. And for the first time in his life, Ethan Cole looked at the desert and saw an ocean of possibility. The new desert. 5 years later, the wind carried the laughter of children across the solar farm. Ethan Cole stood on the observation deck, watching as a group of students in bright blue vests trailed after their instructor, their small hands clutching tablets that displayed real-time energy outputs. The once barren stretch of Lot 47 now hummed with life, row upon row of glistening solar panels, their surfaces drinking in the Arizona sun. Behind him, the doors to the Cole Institute slid open. Mara Lynn stepped out, her dark hair streaked with a few new strands of silver, her ever-present tablet tucked under one arm. They're calling it the miracle in the desert, she said, nodding toward the news crew setting up near the entrance. Wall Street Journal wants an interview. Again. Ethan chuckled. Tell them I'm busy cleaning floors. Mara rolled her eyes but smiled. Some things never changed. Below them, the campus of the Cole Institute sprawled across what had once been worthless sand. State-of-the-art labs. Dormitory for underprivileged students. And at its heart, a single preserved artifact, the rusted hatch where it all began, now encased in glass with plaque that read, Every future starts somewhere. A student, maybe 12 with braces and a fierce curiosity in her eyes, tugged at Ethan's sleeve. "Mr. Cole, is it true you really used to be a janitor?" Mara snorted. Ethan crouched down to the girl's level. "Best job I ever had. Taught me to see what everyone else overlooked." He pointed toward the desert beyond the solar arrays. Out there, people saw nothing. But sometimes, nothing is just something waiting to be found. The girl considered this, then grinned. "Cool. I'm going to go find something, too." She dashed off to join her classmates. Mara leaned against the railing. "You know, for a guy who never wanted to be in the spotlight, you're pretty good at this." Ethan watched the children explore, their voices bright against the whisper of the wind. He thought of the trailer park he'd grown up in, the years of invisible work. The moment his shovel had struck metal in the dark. "Not bad for $50, he murmured. The late afternoon sun painted the desert gold as the campus lights flickered on, each one powered by the sun, each one a defiance of shadows they fought. Somewhere in the server room, a single terminal hummed, its screen dark but waiting. It was enough. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life underdog triumphs. Who knows? The next buried treasure might be right outside your door. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an adventure.